guys, it's Tom. Welcome to the Pernstar channel again and our next little wrenching exercise on the black car. Today we're finally going to tackle the front suspension, hopefully dial it in a little better and lower the car some, so off onto the lift she goes. Alright guys, so let's look at what we are up against here today. So two things for the front. We want to lower the car, which we're going to adjust with the coilover of course, and when I first looked at just visually how the suspension geometry looks, with the Ackermann plates that were on the kit as it was shipped, it had dynamic toe out, meaning it had positive Ackermann. And I'm a big fan of reverse Ackermann, so we're going to try to achieve that today. And so I just want to show you real quick how that actually works. When you look at this knuckle, there are these little plates on your tie rod connection point, and they look like this. They've got two mounting holes, and then they've got the hole in the center that actually locates the large fastener that holds the heim joint of your tie rod on. So what's currently on the car are these plates with the hole square in the middle. Well, there's other plates that come with the kits, and they can be installed either way, like this or like that, depending on what kind of adjustment you're going for. And being that this is a front rack car, if you want to get to the point where you have reverse Ackermann, meaning you have toe in dynamically, then you want to move those pickup points for the tie rod away from the brake rotor. So in other words, we're going to be installing these plates like such to move the tie rod pickup points more to the inside of the car. If it were a rear rack car like my BRC is, it'd be the opposite. But this is a front rack car, so we're going to go for that. If the whole conversation of Ackermann, dynamic toe, all those conversations confuse you, and you're not 100% sure what that actually means, then I'm going to put this little banner thing up there. I have a actually surprisingly popular video where I go over the detailed breakdown on what Ackermann geometry means, and what the differences between grip and drift driving are. And I hope that that helps you understand what it is. It doesn't mean that there's like a be-all, end-all, this is the value it needs to be, because that'll depend on a million different factors, but my goal is for you to understand what it's actually about. And so my preference is reverse Ackermann, dynamic toe in, and hopefully once installing these plates and playing with the static toe alignment on the car, I'm pretty confident that we can get this car to sit exactly the way I want it to. So first things first, we're going to remove the little nuts on these small fasteners that secure the Ackermann plates in place. So these out of the way. And then we're going to undo the fastener that actually secures the tie rod. This happens to be a 19mm. When you're doing this on your car, just pay attention to the order that the parts are in, which way all the various washers and Ackermann plates and nuts and bolts go in, because these little guys, if you put them in the wrong way, they're going to interfere with your tie rod travel. As you can see, I'm purposely trying to have this scene less lit up than in previous videos because it was just so overexposed. So I'm hoping that this actually works out favorable. We shall see. Top one goes underneath. Bottom one goes underneath as well. But the bolts come through the top this time, just to give you the most clearance for your heim joint, your tie rod. Alright, boy. Okay. Okay, so this is with the wheel turned straight right now. It's not perfectly aligned for static toe yet, but it's decent. And now I'm going to go to the other side of the car and just move it through its range of motion. And what we should now see, ideally, is that we will have more turn in than turn out. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. That looks really good all around. So with the Ackermann plate swap, the next thing is to drop the car. Super sophisticated method to do this is to use a reference. And in this case, we're going to drop from a 19mm socket to a 22mm socket in right head. And obviously that doesn't mean much, but you'll see what I'm saying here shortly. These sockets have different heights or lengths. And so currently, the shock body is inside the bottom mount of the coilover so that the 19mm socket is flush in it, because that's what I used last time as my gauge. So now I know that the car sits like a monster truck and I want to lower it. So I picked out a socket that corresponds with the amount of the ride height change that I want to see. Not ride height change, but with the engagement change on the coilover, so that I have a new gauge to quickly adjust my coilover to. Now what you got to keep in mind is that your pivot point on your A-arm to the contact patch of your tire, that's your bottom arm, and then your coilover where you're actually adjusting the height is somewhere inboard of that. So the change that you're making on your coilover is going to be magnified through a lever, you know, and so it's going to be a larger drop at the wheel than just the difference between these two sockets. But I like this method because measuring between the lock rings on the threads and stuff is always really tedious, so big fan of this. So we're gonna want to go down by a bunch. Yeah, we're within about a 1/4 inch. Wonderful. Socket fits flush. Used to be that this one set flush, so you can see by how much we lowered that coilover. Moment of truth time. Let's see how she sits. There used to be about 3 fingers worth of sheet metal right here. So if we hadn't done our clearance cuts, the fender would now be touching on the tire. But this is looking very promising. Now we're just gonna see what the clearance looks like at lock. It all checked out so far, and with wheels on it, it just makes the angle even more apparent. This setup is just crazy. There's the lead wheel. Definitely no shortage of angle, no matter how you look at it. Yeah, pretty stoked about that, not gonna lie. Now, of course, the bumper isn't mounted yet, so that won't be saggy like that. It'll line up with where the cuts are. And ultimately, the car will get over fenders, of course. But yeah, this is very much directionally correct. I'm happy. Yeah, I'm definitely liking this a lot better already. If it weren't for the cut fenders, which we needed for clearance, she'd be pretty slammed in the front now, so that's nice. Get a good side profile here in the sunlight. Yep, starting to take shape, a little bit at a time. So once we have brake lines on the car that are the right length, then we can basically get going. Take her for a spin. You can see that the control arms and the tie rods are almost perfectly level. That's actually real nice considering how much we lowered the car. But that's because these knuckles are also drop knuckles. So yeah. Once the rear camber is styled and doesn't look so silly, then I think she'll be quite presentable. And then I need to decide on what to do with regards to front wheels and over fenders. That's all for today, guys. Later.